We're back now at 8:09 with day 2 of Great TV Families Reunited this morning. The classic 70s show that taught us all that the family who plays together and sings together probably stays together. Come on, get happy. They were the original garage band. Broadcast over 4 seasons beginning in 1970, the Partridge Family showcased the musical talents and home life of Shirley Partridge, a working single mom and her 5 kids. Keith, the frontman and teen idol.
What is there about the teenage girl that makes her follow around someone just because they sing?
Lori, the sensible one, serving as the voice of her generation.
This group is supposed to be a democracy.
Danny, the smart aleck, wise beyond his years.
Of course, my mother is the one who has to sign it. However, there are some legal points I'd like to go over.
And there were the youngest collaborators, Chris and Tracy.
No fair. They get to stay up.
They're older.
We didn't ask to be born last. Golly.
Most days they were having a ball, getting it on. Busting a move with Mom at the wheel, from small-town California to the big time.
Hey, kids, Hollywood Boulevard.
There was no sex and no drugs, and with their brand of rock and roll, these Partridges never laid an egg. In fact, with the success of the show also came 7 chart-topping records, including I Woke Up in Love This Morning. And the best-selling record of 1970. I think I love you. I think I love you. I think I love you. That hit sold more than 5 million copies worldwide. The family's adventures took them from casinos to clubs to block parties. But in between gigs, they acted just like any other family, complete with sibling rivalry and motherly advice.
But I think it's important that you be honest with yourself and others, don't you?
The Partridges took their final bow after a jam session in 1974. As the song goes, the fun they brought into our living room was... Like a roller coaster, keeps going faster, I'm going past you. And here they are today. David Cassidy played Keith Partridge. Danny Bonaducci was, of course, Danny Partridge. Brian Forster played Chris. And Suzanne Crowe was Tracy, the Partridge Family. Good morning, folks. How are you?
Morning. How you doing?
I was trying to watch your faces as you were looking back at that footage from 40 years ago. Is this fun or is it a little cringeworthy?
Frightening.
Is it
absolutely frightening.
What, did you see the dazed look on his face?
When, then or now?
Both. Both. It was so odd to see the pilot because I was 19 years old and the music that we did only for the pilot, I dubbed somebody else's, I was lip syncing to somebody else's voice. It was the only time because once the series sold, I started recording in the studio and making Partridge Family and David Cassidy records.
I made a career on it. I dubbed for Brenda McCarroll.
What was the relationship like among the children? I mean, when you were actually shooting these, how well did you get along? How well didn't you get along? What was the dynamic like on set?
Well, we got along great.
We got along.
Funny, my being the second Chris, as it were. I had some,
Danny killed the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, can I, in my defense, he had it coming. He was great.
Right.
There was a Chris for 1 year, right?
Yes.
Right.
And then you came on the
And then
second
I came
season.
On, and so I stepped into some shoes here. This show had already been going, so I mean, but we all got along great, I think.
I want to read you something. This is a review in the Christian Science Monitor after the first season. It went like this: would that every fatherless, financially distressed American family could successfully take up guitars against a sea of troubles like Grin and bear it Shirley Partridge and her 5 winsome moppets. The show stacks implausibility upon implausibility from the hit record to the psychedelic bust they tool around. And someone taking it very seriously.
Very.
Well, but keep in mind, we sold way more records than the Christian Science Monitor.
Why was the show a hit?
I think it touched a nerve in everybody at the time. Very difficult now in the culture that we live in. But coming out of the 60s and still having that freewheeling kind of thing, I have been asked this a million times, and I really think that from what I have gathered over 8 million people asking me and telling me my brothers, my sisters, we all wanted to be one of those characters. And wouldn't it be cool to be traveling around and playing music and having the opportunity to tour and be rock stars?
Was it just the fantasy factor, the cool factor that got everybody?
It was a combination of that, and then I think America was also looking for a funny, wholesome show. You know, you kind of go through waves, and I think
They were missing the obvious. They were looking for that face.
Well, that's
what they
true,
were looking
too, yeah.
for. That's what they were looking for.
Yeah, as long as he brings it up, I mean, you. I mean,
there's something not fair. When I was started the show, I was a little kid, and he was a grown-up. Now he looks wonderful, and I have the flesh of a Shar-Pei. Something is not right here.
I mean, you're a fan site. The people were crazy, like Elvis, maybe the Beatles, and then you. What was it like to walk in your shoes?
As you probably disagree, he outsold the Beatles in 1970.
That's true.
I Think I Love You came out on the same day as Let It Be. I Think I Love You topped at #1. Let It Be stopped at 6.
David, what was it like?
The Beatles.
Well, it's still, I have to be honest with you, it's my whole career. It was launched, and I've been blessed to be able to say I'm still out singing those great songs, playing hits, and to touch so many people's lives, to bring light into them. I can't even tell you the stories I've heard from fans that were in dysfunctional families, like most of us actually were. And it brings light into my life now, because somebody every day of my life comes up to me and says, you brought so much happiness to me and so much joy to me. And to know that all over the world, you know, my last tour I was playing stadiums to 40, 50, 60,000, and I'm still out there carrying the torch.
God, you have such a shinier, nicer story. I have a brother in prison.